Hi guys, welcome back to the Curly Reader. So today I thought I would do the book snob tag. This is a tag that was created by Tia from Tia and All the Books, and I will link her channel and the original video down below. She tagged me in this, and so I thought that I would go ahead and do this today. Let's go ahead and get started. So prompt number 1 is adaptation snob. Do you always read the book before you see a movie or a TV show adaptation? I do not always. If it's something where I really think that I would love the book, I will try to do this, but it's not an automatic for me. I've watched a lot of different TV shows and movies that were adapted from a book without reading the book first, and I'm okay with that. And sometimes it kind of lets me know that maybe the book isn't for me, and whatever. So I'm definitely not an adaptation snob. Prompt number 2 is format snob. If you had to choose one book format to use for the rest of your life, what would it be? And so for me personally, I would choose probably physical books, even though the majority of my reading is done via audiobooks. There's just something about reading a physical book that I love, and if I could only choose one for the rest of my life, I would rather give up all the audiobooks that I read and still be able to read a physical book than vice versa. So I guess that's my answer for that one. Number 3 is ship snob. Would you date or marry a non-reader? And I'm married. My husband does read, not as much as I do, but he does enjoy reading. But if I wasn't married to him, I would definitely date or marry a non-reader. I don't think that that's a prerequisite for me. It's nice that he enjoys it, but quite frankly, we don't read the same things. He enjoys reading like high fantasy and that kind of, and a lot of nonfiction and self-help and things like that, and that I don't read any of that. So we don't read any of the same books anyway. So we don't really talk about books very often. So I don't think it would really matter to me if I dated or married a non-reader. It just wouldn't be a big deal for me. Number 4 is genre snob. Which one genre, if you had to ditch one genre for the rest of your life, which one would you ditch? And this for me is not difficult at all. I would ditch horror, because I never read it anyway, and I don't really have a desire to ever read it. I don't like scary movies. I don't like scary things. I don't enjoy the gruesomeness that comes with it, and so for me, that's a pretty easy ditch. Number 5 is uber genre snob, and this one is if you had to choose one genre to read for the rest of your life, which one would it be? And for this one, I would probably choose literary fiction. I know that's kind of a broad genre, and I think that's why I would pick that one. I just think that it would give me the most variety to actually read. Is that cheating? I don't know. Because I don't really like romance. I enjoy like historical fiction and that kind of thing, but I wouldn't only want to read things set in the past. So I think I would choose literary fiction. Number 6 is community snob. Which genre do you think receives the most snobbery from the bookish community? And I don't know as though I've ever really witnessed snobbery when it comes to books, but for some reason my perception is that high fantasy, like fantasy lovers and sci-fi lovers, are a little bit snobbish on whether something is actually fantasy or not, because I don't read high fantasy, but I enjoy fantasy books, so like lower mid fantasy, and I feel like people that read high fantasy predominantly, they really are keyed into those books, but I think that's more of a perception than what's actually going on. So I don't know as though I've ever really witnessed snobbery as far as the book community goes at all. And then number 7 is snobbery recipient. Have you ever received snobbish remarks related to books that you have or haven't read, anything like that. And really, I haven't. Occasionally I'll get a comment on like, oh, you haven't read that yet. But as far as like comments on what I have read, I have gotten a couple comments because I read a lot of middle grade, and I'm obviously not the target audience for middle grade, but I read a lot of middle grade, and I read a lot of middle grade graphic novels too, which I really enjoy, but some people don't consider, when I like add those to my annual book tally, they're like, oh, you know, like, so for example, so far this year I've read 70 books, but in middle grade March I read 28 books just in middle grade March. And I have read, you know, this past month I read all of the Babysitter's Club graphic adaptations, and that was 6 books, and those took me like an hour to get through a piece. So I have gotten a couple of comments on, oh, so you've read 70 books but really you haven't, that kind of thing. But I think it's just to each their own. I enjoy them. They're bound books. I count them in my total. And mostly it's just because I track them on Goodreads and it counts the book as a book on Goodreads, and I'm okay with that, and I don't consider it cheating. So I think that's the closest thing that I've had. So that is all of the questions or prompts for this book tag. I am going to tag Emily from Books for Life and Krista from Books and Jams to do this book tag, and hopefully they do it. And thanks, Tia, for tagging me and for creating this book tag. I hope that you all enjoyed this and that you're having a great day, and I hope that you stick around and subscribe, and until next time, see ya.